my chosen one, this was not just another week. What you went through was not random, and it was not ordinary. There was a plan set against you, a quiet, calculated pressure designed to wear you down piece by piece. The heaviness you felt, the sudden waves of doubt, the exhaustion that didn't make sense at all had a source. And here is the truth that will shake you. The enemy believed this would be the exact week you would finally give up. Yes, this week was marked. It was circled in the unseen realm as the moment you would throw in the towel, walk away, and abandon everything you've been holding onto. That strange tension you felt in your spirit. That was not weakness. That was resistance. You were standing in the middle of a battle you couldn't fully see, but it was very real. There were moments, weren't there? Moments where everything inside you whispered, just stop. It's too much. You've done enough. The pressure came from different directions. Your thoughts, your emotions, even situations around you seemed to align perfectly to drain you. It felt like too many things were happening at once. Like no matter what you did, something else would go wrong. That wasn't coincidence. That was strategy. But here is what the enemy did not expect: you didn't quit. Even when you felt like you had nothing left, you still showed up. Even when your energy was low, your spirit kept moving forward. Even when your mind was clouded with doubt, something deeper inside you refused to surrender. You may not even understand how you made it through, but you did. And that single decision, to keep going when everything told you to stop, has just shifted something powerful in your life. Because while you were fighting to hold on, you were not alone. Archangel Michael was standing guard, shielding you in ways you could not see. In the moments where you thought you were about to collapse, there was divine strength being poured into you. When confusion tried to take over your thoughts, there was protection keeping you from falling completely. You were being held up, even when you felt like you were falling apart. This week revealed something important, not about your weakness, but about your strength. It exposed a part of you that cannot be easily broken, a part of you that refuses to give up, even under pressure, and that terrifies the enemy. Because now, the plan has failed. Do you understand what just happened? You were supposed to quit, but you did. And because you didn't, everything is about to change. This is not the end of your struggle. It is the turning point. What felt like survival was actually victory in disguise. And now, something greater has been set into motion, something the enemy cannot stop anymore. Stay with me, because what you're about to realize next will explain why this week had to happen, and what it has just unlocked for you. There is something you need to understand clearly, because it will change the way you see everything that just happened. The attack you faced this week was not obvious. It did not come with warning signs or loud alarms. It came quietly, subtly, and strategically. That is how the enemy works when the assignment against you is serious. If it were obvious, you would have prepared for it. But this was designed to catch you off guard. It started in small ways. A shift in your mood that didn't make sense. A sudden lack of motivation where there used to be clarity. Thoughts that felt heavier than usual, whispering doubts that didn't even sound like your own voice. You may have brushed it off at first, thinking it was just stress or a bad day. But then it lingered. It stretched into hours, into days. And before you realized it, it was affecting how you saw yourself, your future, and even your purpose. This is how hidden attacks operate. They don't come to destroy you all at once. They come to slowly drain you, to make you question what you once believed with confidence, to make you feel like you're losing control, even when nothing external seems drastically wrong. It's a quiet erosion of your strength, a steady attempt to weaken your foundation until quitting feels like the only relief. And this specific week was not chosen randomly. Timing matters in the spiritual realm. The enemy does not waste energy attacking without reason. There was something about this moment in your life that made it a target. You were close to something, closer than you realize. And when you are on the edge of growth, breakthrough, or elevation, that is when resistance intensifies the most. Think about the patterns you experienced, the repeated discouragement, the delays that felt unnecessary, the emotional exhaustion that seemed to come out of nowhere. It felt like you were taking one step forward and then being pushed 2 steps back. That pattern is not accidental. It is calculated. The goal was to create frustration, to make you feel stuck, and eventually to convince you that continuing is not worth it. The enemy studies behavior. It watches for your moments of vulnerability. It waits for the times when you are already tired, already stretched, already questioning things internally. And then it applies pressure. Not all at once, but in waves. Because if it can catch you at your lowest point, it increases the chances of you giving up. But something disrupted that plan. You see, the expectation was that by now, you would have stepped back. That you would have said, "I can't do this anymore." That you would have walked away from the very thing you've been holding on to. Whether it's your purpose, your growth, your healing, or something deeply personal, the goal was to separate you from it. Yet here you are. You may feel tired. You may feel like this week took more out of you than you expected. But you are still standing. And that is not a small thing. In fact, it is the exact opposite of what was planned against you. What you need to realize is this: surviving this week was not just about endurance. It was about interruption. You interrupted a strategy that had been carefully placed against your life. You broke a pattern that was meant to continue. And because of that, something deeper has shifted. The pressure you felt was real, but so was the strength that carried you through it. Even in moments where you felt mentally and emotionally drained, there was something inside you that refused to fully give in. That was not coincidence. It was divine alignment working beneath the surface. And now, because you did not respond the way the enemy expected, the entire direction of this attack has been thrown off balance. What was supposed to weaken you has actually revealed you. What was meant to stop you has now exposed the fact that you are not easily moved. There is more happening here than you can see. This was not just a difficult week. It was a test, a confrontation, and a setup all at once. And you passed through it, even if it didn't feel like victory in the moment. Stay attentive, because what almost happened next, the moment where everything nearly slipped away, is where the deepest truth will be revealed. There was a moment this week, a very specific moment, when everything inside you almost gave in. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, heavy, and deeply personal. A moment where you paused, stared into the weight of everything you were carrying, and felt something shift inside you. But with the edge. But with the exact point the enemy had been working toward all along. You remember it, don't you? It may have come late at night when your thoughts were the loudest. Or in the middle of the day when everything suddenly felt meaningless. It might have been after one more disappointment, one more delay, one more emotional hit that made you feel like you couldn't keep going. In that moment, it felt like continuing required more strength than you had left. That voice, the one that whispered, "Just stop. Just let it go. You tried enough." It didn't sound aggressive. It sounded almost comforting, almost reasonable. That is what made it dangerous. Because it tried to convince you that quitting was not failure, but relief. That walking away was not giving up, but protecting your peace. And for a second you believed it. Your grip loosened. Your energy dropped. Your heart felt tired in a way that is hard to explain. It wasn't just physical exhaustion. It was emotional and spiritual fatigue layered together. You questioned everything. Why you started. Whether it was worth it. Whether anything would actually change. That was a breaking point. But what you didn't see was what happened in that exact moment behind the scenes. While you were sitting in that silence, feeling like you were about to let go, something powerful intervened. Archangel Michael stepped in with a force that did not overwhelm you, but steadied you. Not by removing the pressure instantly, but by anchoring something deeper within you. That small feeling, that quiet resistance that said, "Not yet," that was not coming from your exhaustion. That was divine strength being released into you at the exact second you needed it most. And didn't shout. It didn't force you. It simply reminded you. Reminded you that you've come too far to stop here. Reminded you that this moment, as heavy as it felt, was not the end of your story. Reminded you that even though you felt weak, you were not alone in the fight. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you chose to hold on. Not in a big, dramatic way, but in a quiet decision. A decision that said, "I'm still here." Even if you didn't feel strong, you didn't walk away. Even if you were unsure, you didn't completely surrender. That small choice carried more power than you can imagine. Because heaven saw that moment clearly. Heaven saw you when you were at your lowest, when no one else could see the internal battle you were fighting. And it wasn't measuring you by how strong you looked. It was honoring the fact that you didn't give up when it would have been easy to do so. That moment has now been marked, not as your breaking point, but as your proving point. You proved that your spirit is stronger than the pressure placed against it. You proved that even when doubt enters your mind, it does not have the authority to control your decisions. And most importantly, you proved that the enemy miscalculated you. Because you were supposed to let go in that moment. But you didn't. And because of that, something has shifted permanently. The battle did not end there, but the outcome of it changed. What was meant to be your collapse has now become your confirmation. Confirmation that there is something within you that cannot be easily shaken, something that remains even when everything else feels uncertain. Now listen carefully. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, if you know deep inside that this moment was real for you, then receive this with intention. Type "I did let go" in the comments if you are claiming this strength over your life. Blessing code 539 is now being released over your path. And as this truth settles into your spirit, understand this: when you choose to stand in moments like that, you are not just surviving, you are aligning with something greater. There are others who need to hear this message, who are standing at their own breaking point right now. If you feel led in your spirit, take a step of action. Sow into this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link placed in the description and shown as a QR code. This is not just support, it is a seed. A seed that helps this message reach the one who is about to give up but needs this exact confirmation. The word says, "Give, and it will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is your moment to act in alignment. As you give, you are opening a flow, not just for others, but for your own life as well. So move with intention. Act with faith. And know that what you release in obedience will return to you multiplied in ways you cannot yet see. There is something happening right now that you may not fully realize yet, but it is very real. The fact that you made it through this week without quitting has created a level of disruption in the unseen realm. What you see as just getting through was never small. It carried weight. It carried consequence. And most importantly, it carried impact. The enemy is not frustrated because you had a difficult week. It expected that. It planned for that. What it did not expect was your response. It did not expect you to still be standing after everything was placed against you. Because from its perspective, the pressure applied should have been enough to make you fold. You were studied. Your patterns were observed. Your limits were tested before. The assumption was simple. You would react the same way you may have reacted in the past. That when things became too overwhelming, you would step back, withdraw, or completely walk away. That expectation became the foundation of the attack strategy against you. But this time something was different. You didn't respond the way you used to. Even if you felt the same emotions, even if the pressure felt familiar, your decision did not align with your past. You held on. You stayed. You endured. And that single shift has now broken a pattern that the enemy relied on. Do you understand how powerful that is? When a pattern is broken, control is lost. The enemy thrives on predictability. It builds strategies based on how you have responded before. But when you choose differently, when you stand instead of retreat, it disrupts everything that was set in motion against you. That is why your survival has created frustration. Because now, the outcome that was expected is no longer guaranteed. The narrative that was being written over your life has been interrupted. And when that happens, something greater begins to take its place. Endurance is not just about getting through hard moments. It builds authority. Spiritual authority is not given lightly. It is developed through resistance. Every time you face pressure and refuse to break, you are establishing something within yourself that cannot be easily taken away. This is why the battle felt so intense. It wasn't just about the moment. It was about what that moment would produce in you. And now, because you endured, there is a new level of strength operating within you. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. You may not feel completely different yet, but something has shifted. You are not standing in the same place you were before this week began. You are stronger in ways that are not immediately visible. And that strength is what the enemy fears the most. Because once you realize it, once you fully recognize what you are capable of enduring, it becomes much harder to shake you again. The same tactics will not have the same effect. The same pressure will not produce the same doubt. Because now you have evidence, real, undeniable evidence, that you can withstand more than you thought. And there is something else you need to see clearly. Your endurance did not just protect you, it positioned you. There were things ahead of you that required this level of strength. Opportunities, growth, and elevation that could not be handled by the version of you that existed before this week. So this moment, as difficult as it felt, was also preparation. Preparation for what is coming next. Archangel Michael was not only protecting you from breaking, he was guiding you through a process of strengthening, making sure that when you step into what is ahead, you do so with a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. So while the enemy is frustrated, heaven is aligned. Aligned with the version of you that is emerging right now. A version that is not easily discouraged. A version that does not walk away at the first sign of resistance. A version that understands that pressure is not always a sign to stop, but often a sign that something important is near. And this changes everything. Because now, the same strategy that was meant to weaken you has actually revealed you. Revealed your endurance. Revealed your resilience. Revealed your ability to stand when everything says you shouldn't. This is no longer about what you went through. It is about who you have become because of it. And what is about to unfold next will show you that this strength was not just necessary, It was essential. There is a truth rising within you right now, and it is one you may have overlooked for a long time. You are stronger than you thought. Not in theory, not in words, but in reality. This week didn't just test you, it revealed you. It uncovered a level of endurance, a depth of resilience, and a quiet power that you didn't fully recognize before. Before this, you may have believed your strength had limits. You may have thought that if things became too overwhelming, you would reach a breaking point and that would be the end. But what happened instead? You were stretched, pressed, and pushed to a place that felt beyond your capacity, and yet you did not collapse. That is not normal strength. That is hidden strength being activated. There is a difference between strength you are aware of and strength that is buried deep within you, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Most of the time, you never meet that deeper strength because life doesn't demand it from you. But when a moment like this comes, when the pressure increases and the weight becomes heavy, that is when what is hidden begins to rise. And that is exactly what happened to you. You didn't feel strong. In fact, you probably felt the opposite. You felt tired, uncertain, maybe even close to giving up. But strength is not always loud. It doesn't always feel like confidence or energy. Sometimes, strength is simply the decision to take one more step when you feel like stopping. Sometimes, it is choosing not to quit, even when quitting seems justified. That is the strength you displayed. And here is what makes it even more powerful. You didn't plan it. You didn't prepare for it. It came out of you in the moment it was needed. That means it has always been within you. It was just waiting for the right time to be revealed. Archangel Michael has been guiding this process more than you realize. Not by removing every challenge, but by allowing you to face just enough resistance to activate what was already placed inside you. Because if everything were easy, this strength would remain hidden. It would never rise to the surface. But now, you have seen it. Even if you don't fully understand it yet, you have experienced it. And that changes the way you will face everything moving forward. Because now, you cannot say, "I don't know if I can handle this." You have already handled something that felt impossible. That is your proof. And proof creates confidence. Not a loud, exaggerated confidence, but a quiet, grounded knowing. A knowing that no matter what comes next, you have the ability to endure. That even if things get difficult again, you will not easily break. This is where the shift begins. Because the enemy was counting on your doubt. It was counting on you believing that you were not strong enough. That belief would have made you vulnerable. It would have made you more likely to step back, to hesitate, to second-guess yourself. But now, that belief is being replaced. Replaced with experience. Replaced with evidence. Replaced with the realization that you have already survived something that should have taken you out of position. And when doubt loses its hold, everything changes. You begin to move differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to approach challenges with a new perspective, not as something that will defeat you, but as something you can move through. This does not mean everything will suddenly become easy, but it does mean you are no longer the same person facing those challenges. You are not approaching life from the same level of uncertainty. You are stepping forward with something solid within you. That is the strength that was revealed this week. And it is not temporary. It is now a part of you. Something that will continue to grow as you move forward. Something that will support you in moments where you once would have struggled. Something that will remind you, even in future difficult times, that you have already faced pressure and remained standing. So when you look back at this week, Do not only see the struggle. Do not only remember the exhaustion or the doubt. See what it uncovered. See what it activated. See what it proved about you. Because this was not just a hard moment. It was a revealing moment. A moment that showed you that your strength is deeper than your feelings, stronger than your doubts, and more consistent than your circumstances. And now that you know it's there, everything ahead of you will be faced from a completely different place. There is something deeper you must now understand, because this changes the meaning of everything you just went through. The pressure you faced was not only about breaking you, it was about reaching something connected to you. Something valuable, something significant, something that could not be allowed to slip through your hands. This was never just about your emotions, your energy, or your ability to endure. There was something being targeted behind the scenes, something attached to your life that carries weight, purpose, and future impact. And the intensity of the attack you experienced is directly connected to the value of what you were carrying. The enemy does not invest that level of effort without reason. So ask yourself this: what have you been holding on to lately? What have you been building, protecting, or trying to move forward in your life? It could be something visible, like a goal, a decision, or a new direction. Or it could be something internal, your peace, your healing, your growth, your clarity. Whatever it is, it matters more than you realize. Because that is what was under pressure. The exhaustion you felt was not random. The doubt that tried to creep into your mind was not without purpose. It was all designed to make you release something, to make you step away, to make you loosen your grip on something that is meant to stay in your life. But here is what you need to see clearly: you didn't lose it. Even in your weakest moments, even when you felt unsure, even when your energy dropped, you did not fully let go. And that is not just your doing. That is protection. Archangel Michael has been actively shielding what is connected to you. Not always by removing the pressure, but by strengthening your ability to hold on through it. There is a difference. Because sometimes protection does not look like things becoming easy. Sometimes it looks like you being sustained in the middle of difficulty so that what matters is not taken from you. And that is exactly what happened. You were sustained. There were moments when you could have made a different decision. Moments when you could have walked away, said something you couldn't take back, or given up on something that still has a future. But somehow, you didn't cross that line. You paused. You held back. You stayed just enough to keep things intact. That is not coincidence. That is intervention. Because what is connected to your life right now is not small. It carries purpose that goes beyond what you can currently see. It is part of something that is still unfolding, something that is still being built, something that still has layers that have not yet been revealed. And if you had let go this week, you would have stepped out of alignment with it. That is why the pressure was so consistent. That is why it didn't come once and disappear. It kept returning, but you tested, trying to find a way in. Because the goal was not just to challenge you. It was to disconnect you from what belongs to you. But that goal failed. Because you remained connected. Even if it didn't feel strong. Even if it didn't feel perfect. Even if you questioned things along the way, you did not fully disconnect. And that is what matters. Now something important has been secured. What you held on to through this week has now passed through a level of testing. It hath been pressured, examined, and still remains. That means it is stronger than before, more stable, more rooted, less likely to be shaken by the same level of attack again. And you are a part of that strengthening. Because what you protect also shapes you. What you hold on to, also builds your character. What you refuse to release, even under pressure, becomes more deeply anchored within your life. This is why this week had to happen. Not to take something from you, but to reveal what cannot be taken. And now that this has been established, you are moving forward with something that is not easily shaken. Something that has already faced pressure and remained. Something that is now covered, strengthened, and aligned with where you are going next. So do not underestimate what you still have. Do not overlook what remains in your hands, in your heart, in your life. Because what you did not lose is exactly what will carry you into what comes next. There is something quietly powerful that has already happened and you may not have even noticed it yet. While you were focused on getting through the pressure, holding yourself together, and simply making it to the end of the week, a shift began to take place beneath the surface. It didn't announce itself. It didn't come with immediate relief or obvious signs. But it started. This is the part most people miss. Because when you are in the middle of a difficult moment, your attention is naturally drawn to what feels wrong. The stress, the uncertainty, the emotional weight. You feel all of that clearly. But what you don't always see is the moment when things begin to turn. And for you, that moment has already happened. The turning point didn't come when everything suddenly got easier. It came the moment you decided not to quit. A decision, as small and quiet as it seemed, created a shift in direction. Before that moment, everything was moving toward one outcome: disconnection, withdrawal, and giving up. But the second you held on, even slightly, that direction changed. What was once moving downward began to stabilize, and then slowly, it started to rise. You may not feel that rise yet, and that's okay. Turning points often begin in ways that are not immediately visible. They start internally before they show up externally. They begin as a change in alignment before they become a change in circumstance. And right now, you are in that exact space. You are no longer where you were at the beginning of the week. Even if your surroundings look the same, even if certain challenges still exist, something within you has shifted. There is a new awareness, a new steadiness, a new level of endurance that wasn't fully active before. That is the beginning of the turn. Archangel Michael hath been guiding this shift with precision, not rushing the process, not forcing immediate results, but allowing things to realign in a way that will be lasting. Because a quick change without a strong foundation does not last. But a gradual shift, built on what you have just endured, creates something stable. So while you were focused on surviving, Evan was focused on repositioning. Repositioning your thoughts, your responses, your internal strength. Adjusting things within you so that when the external changes begin to appear, you are ready to handle them without falling back into old patterns. This is why the turning point feels quiet. Because it is not just about changing your situation. It is about transforming your foundation. And transformation at that level takes place in ways that are often subtle at first. But make no mistake, it is real. You may begin to notice it in small ways. A little more clarity where there was confusion. A little more calm where there was tension. A moment where you respond differently than you would have before. These are not random improvements. These are signs of the shift taking hold. And as it continues, those small changes will begin to connect. They will build on each other. What starts as internal alignment will begin to reflect in your external reality. Opportunities will feel more accessible. Decisions will feel clearer. The weight that once felt overwhelming will begin to lift, not all at once, but steadily. This is how true turning points work. They don't rush you. They don't overwhelm you with sudden change. They guide you into a new position, one step at a time, until you look back and realize you are no longer where you used to be. And that is exactly where you are headed now. The hardest part, the resistance, the pressure, the moment where you almost let go, that was the threshold. And you crossed it. You didn't stop at it. You didn't turn back from it. You moved through it, even if it felt slow, even if it felt uncertain. And because you crossed that threshold, you have entered a different phase. A phase where things begin to align instead of resist. A phase where what you've been holding onto begins to stabilize and grow. A phase where the effort you put into not quitting starts to produce something meaningful. So even if you don't see the full picture yet, trust this, the turn has already begun. And what comes next will make it clear why you had to go through everything you just faced. Listen closely, because this is where everything begins to reverse in a way the enemy did not anticipate. The same pressure that was meant to weaken you has now produced something far more dangerous. From the enemy's perspective, it has produced clarity, endurance, and an unshakable awareness that you are not easily moved. And now, there is regret in the unseen realm. Not because the attack happened, but because it failed. You must understand this. When an attack does not achieve its intended outcome, it does not just disappear without consequence. It exposes weakness on the side that initiated it. The enemy expected you to break. It expected you to retreat. It expected you to follow a predictable pattern. But instead, you stood firm in a way that disrupted everything that had been set against you. And now, the tables are turning. Because what was meant to drain you has now strengthened you. What was meant to confuse you has now sharpened your awareness. What was meant to push you away from your path has now anchored you more deeply into it. This is the reversal that happens when you refuse to quit under pressure. The enemy miscalculated your response. It underestimated your resilience. It assumed that the weight placed on you would be enough to cause collapse. But instead of collapsing, you adapted. You endured. You held on. And in doing so, you gained something the enemy cannot easily undo: experience. Experience is powerful. Because once you have lived through something, once you have faced pressure and remained standing, it changes how you respond to future challenges. The same tactics that once might have shaken you no longer have the same effect. The same level of pressure no longer feels as overwhelming. You have grown beyond it. That is where the regret begins. Because now, the strategy that was used against you has lost its effectiveness. It has revealed itself. It has shown its pattern. And once you recognize a pattern, it becomes much harder for it to control you again. You are no longer responding blindly. You are becoming aware. And awareness creates strength. This is why the enemy is now in a position it did not plan for. Instead of dealing with a weakened version of you, it is now facing a strengthened one. A version of you that has already proven it can endure. A version of you that is less likely to fall for the same tactics again. And that changes everything moving forward. Because now, the momentum is shifting in your favor. The resistance you felt is beginning to lose its grip. Not instantly, not all at once, but steadily. The same weight that once felt overwhelming is starting to feel manageable. The same thoughts that once brought doubt are losing their authority. And in their place, something new is rising. Confidence. Not loud, exaggerated confidence, but a quiet certainty. And knowing that you have already faced something difficult and made it through. A grounded belief that you are not as fragile as the pressure tried to make you feel. And from this place, new things begin to open. Doors that once felt blocked begin to shift. Opportunities that once seemed distant begin to come closer. The path that once felt uncertain begins to gain clarity. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you are now aligned differently. You are no longer standing in the same mindset, the same emotional space, or the same level of awareness. You have changed. And because you have changed, your outcomes will begin to change as well. This is the part the enemy regrets the most. Not just that you survived, but that you grew. Because growth creates forward movement, and forward movement leads to progress, and progress leads to breakthrough. And now, that chain has already been set into motion. There is no reversing it. So if you can feel this shift within you, if something in your spirit is confirming that you are not the same as you were before this week, then receive this moment fully. Type "I have overcome" in the comments if you are stepping into this new strength. Blessing code 881 is now activated over your life. And as you stand in this awareness, understand this: your victory is not just for you. There are others who are still in the middle of their battle, still standing at the edge of giving up, still searching for a reason to hold on. If this message has reached you at the right time, if it has spoken into your situation, then act on that connection. So into this mission through super thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and the QR code provided. This is not just a gesture, it is a prophetic act. The word declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy." As you release your seed, you are participating in something greater than yourself. You are helping this message reach the one who needs it most, the one who is about to quit but will hear this and decide to stay. So step into this moment with intention. Give with faith. Move with purpose. And know that what you release now will return to you, multiplied, in ways that will confirm that your endurance was not in vain. Now we arrive at something many people never fully understand, because they often stop too soon to experience it. There are outcomes, real outcomes, that are directly tied to the simple decision not to quit. Not dramatic actions, not perfect execution, just the choice to remain, to endure, to stay in position when it would have been easier to walk away. And that is exactly what you did. Because you didn't quit, something has already begun to unlock in your life. It may not be fully visible yet, but it is active. There are doors that were previously closed that are now starting to respond differently. There are paths that once felt blocked that are beginning to open, even if only slightly at first. This is how alignment works. When you stay in place during pressure, you remain connected to what is meant for you. But when you quit, you disconnect from it. Many people never see what could have happened, simply because they stepped away too early. They never reach the moment where things begin to turn in their favor. But you did not step away. So now, you are positioned to receive what comes after endurance. One of the first things that begins to happen is clarity. The confusion that once surrounded you starts to fade. The thoughts that once felt overwhelming begin to settle. You start to see things more clearly, not all at once, but enough to take your next step with confidence. This clarity is not accidental. It is the result of you staying through the pressure instead of escaping it. Because pressure reveals truth. It strips away distractions. It forces you to confront what is real and what is not. And now that you have moved through that process, you are able to see with a different perspective. Along with clarity comes opportunity. Not always in obvious ways, but in subtle shifts. A new idea. A new direction. A connection that begins to form. Something that aligns with where you are now, not where you were before. These opportunities were not available to you at your previous level of understanding. They required you to grow first. And now, you have. This is why not quitting matters so much. Because it keeps you in alignment long enough for growth to take place. And once growth happens, Your environment begins to respond to it. You may notice that certain things no longer feel the same. Situations that once drained you may begin to lose their hold. Conversations may shift. Your reactions may change. This is not random. It is a reflection of your internal shift. You are no longer operating from the same place. And because of that, what surrounds you will begin to adjust. There is also something else that begins to develop. Trust. Not just trust in the process, but trust in yourself. A deeper confidence that you can handle what comes your way. That even if things become difficult again, you will not immediately fall apart or walk away. This kind of trust is built through experience. And you have just gained that experience. You now know what it feels like to be pushed to your edge and still remain. You know what it feels like to question everything and still not give up. That knowledge stays with you. It becomes part of how you approach future challenges. So when something new arises, you will not respond with the same level of doubt. You will remember this moment. You will remember that you have already endured something similar and made it through. That memory becomes strength, and that strength continues to move you forward. This is the chain reaction that has now begun in your life. One decision, to not quit, has led to alignment. Alignment is leading to clarity. Clarity is leading to opportunity. Opportunity is leading to movement. And movement leads to change. Real change. Not temporary, surface-level adjustments, but deeper shifts that continue to unfold over time. The kind of change that builds on itself, creating momentum that carries you forward even when things are not perfect. So do not underestimate what you have done. Do not look at this past week and see only difficulty. See the door it has opened. See the position it has placed you in. See the path that is now available to you because you chose to stay. Because what happens next would not be possible if you had quit. There is a transition happening right now, and it is more significant than it may appear on the surface. You are not just moving forward, you are moving upward. This is a shift in level, a step into a version of yourself that did not fully exist before this past week. And the reason you are able to step into it now is because you endured what was necessary to qualify for it. Not everyone reaches this point. Many turn back when the pressure increases. Many choose comfort over growth, relief over endurance. And while that may feel easier in the moment, it keeps them in the same place. It prevents elevation. But you made a different choice. You stayed. You held on. You moved through something that tested you deeply. And because of that, you are no longer standing on the same level you were before. A new level requires a new mindset. You cannot think the same way, respond the same way, or see yourself the same way if you are going to fully step into what is ahead. The experiences you just went through were not only about survival, they were about transformation. They were reshaping how you think, how you respond, and how you carry yourself. You may start to notice this in subtle ways. Situations that once intimidated you may no longer have the same effect. Challenges that once felt overwhelming may now feel manageable. Decisions that once confused you may now feel clearer. This is not because life has suddenly become easier. It is because you have become stronger. That is what elevation looks like. It is not always about external change at first. It begins internally. It begins with a shift in identity, a realization that you are capable of more than you previously believed, a recognition that you are not as easily shaken as you once thought. And once that identity begins to settle in, your actions start to reflect it. You begin to move with more intention. You begin to speak with more clarity. You begin to make decisions from a place of confidence rather than fear. This is the natural result of stepping into a higher level of awareness and strength. Archangel Michael hath been preparing you for this transition, not by removing every obstacle, but by guiding you through the exact experiences needed to shape you into someone who can handle what is ahead. Because what is coming next requires stability. It requires resilience. It requires a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. And that is what has been built within you. This new level is not just about what you will receive. It is about who you are becoming. Because what you receive will only last if you are able to sustain it. And sustaining it requires growth. It requires maturity. It requires the ability to remain steady even when things are not perfect. That is what you are stepping into now. You may feel a sense of change within you, even if you cannot fully explain it. A feeling that something is different. That you are not reacting the same way. That you are seeing things from a new perspective. That is the shift taking place. Do not ignore it. Lean into it. Because this is the beginning of something greater. There will be new opportunities that come your way, and they may feel unfamiliar at first. Not because they are wrong, but because they are aligned with the new level you are stepping into. They will require you to trust yourself more, to move with confidence, to step forward without overthinking every detail. And you are ready for that. Even if part of you still feels uncertain, the truth is, you have already proven your ability to handle pressure. You have already shown that you can endure. And that means you are capable of navigating what comes next. This is no longer about whether you can do it. That question has already been answered. Now, it is about whether you will step into it fully, whether you will embrace the growth that has taken place within you, whether you will allow yourself to move forward without holding on to the limitations of your past, whether you will accept that you are not the same person you were before this week. Because you are not. You have changed. And this change is not temporary. It is the result of real experience, real endurance, real growth. It is something that will continue to shape you as you move forward. So as you step into this new level, do so with awareness. Recognize what you have gained. Recognize who you have become. Recognize the strength that now exists within you. Because everything ahead of you will be built on that foundation. And this foundation is stronger than anything that tried to break you. There is a message being released to you right now, and it is not distant or unclear. It is direct, intentional, and meant for you in this exact moment. You have moved through the pressure. You have endured the weight. And now, you are in a position to hear what comes next with clarity. This is what Archangel Michael is saying to you. You were never alone in what you faced. Even in the moments where it felt silent, where it felt like nothing was shifting, where it felt like you were carrying everything by yourself. You were being watched over, protected, and guided. Every step you took, even the uncertain ones, were seen. Every moment you chose not to quit was marked. And now, you are being reminded of something important. You are stronger than what tried to stop you. Not because the pressure was small, but because what is within you is greater. The challenges you faced were real, but they were not greater than your ability to endure them. And now that you have moved through that experience, you carry a strength that cannot be easily taken from you. Do not return to the mindset you had before this week. Do not go back to doubting yourself in the same way. Do not allow old patterns of thinking to re-enter and take control. You have seen what you are capable of. You have experienced your own resilience. And the truth must now guide how you move forward. There is also a reminder being placed before you. What you held on to matters. It was not small. It was not insignificant. The reason it was tested is because it carries value, and now that it hath been tested and remains, it is more secure than it was before. You are not starting over. You are continuing from a place that has already been strengthened. So move forward with confidence. Not a loud or forced confidence, but a steady, grounded knowing. A knowing that you have already passed through something difficult and remain standing. A knowing that you are capable of facing what comes next without falling apart. There is also direction in this message. Stay aligned. Do not be pulled back into distractions that weaken your focus. Do not give unnecessary attention to things that drain your energy. Be intentional with where you place your time, your thoughts, and your effort. Because where you are going requires clarity and consistency. And now, there is something being prepared ahead of you. Opportunities, shifts, and moments that will require you to step forward with the strength you have just developed. These moments may not look exactly how you expect them to, but they will align with the growth that has taken place within you. When they come, do not hesitate. Do not second-guess yourself in the same way you may have before. Trust what has been built within you. Trust the process you have just moved through. Trust that you are not stepping into something unprepared. You are stepping into something you have been shaped for. There is also a sense of reassurance in this message. You are not behind. Even if it felt like you were slowed down this week, even if it felt like progress was not happening, you were not falling behind. You were being positioned. What felt like delay was actually alignment. What felt like pressure was actually preparation. Everything is still moving forward. And now, you are moving forward with it. So release any thoughts that tell you that you have lost time, that you have missed something, or that you are not where you should be. Those thoughts are not aligned with the truth of what is happening in your life right now. You are exactly where you need to be. And from this place, you will begin to see things unfold in a way that confirms that truth. So take this message and hold on to it. Let it guide your thoughts. Let it shape your actions. Let it remind you of what you have already overcome and what you are now prepared to step into. Because what comes next will not require you to prove your strength again in the same way. It will require you to use it. And you are ready for that. Beloved soul, take a moment now and feel the stillness around you. Not the silence of emptiness, but the quiet of something that has settled into place. You made it through. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but completely. You are still here. And that alone has changed more than you can currently see. This was never just about a difficult week. This was about a defining moment. A moment that asked you a question without words. Will you stay or will you walk away? And despite everything you felt, everything that tried to pull you back, everything that told you it would be easier to stop, you chose to stay. A decision has now written something in your destiny. Because every time you choose to remain when quitting feels easier, you step into alignment with something greater than your circumstances. You step into purpose. You step into growth. You step into a version of your life that only reveals itself through endurance. And now, you are standing in that space. Things may not look completely different yet, but something within you is. There is a calm beginning to replace the chaos. A quiet confidence starting to rise where doubt once lived. A sense that, no matter what comes next, you will not respond the same way you once did. It is peace being restored. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from knowing you made it through something that was meant to break you. The kind of peace that stays with you, even when life is still unfolding. Archangel Michael is near in this moment, not in urgency, but in reassurance. The battle that felt so intense has now passed its peak. You are no longer standing in the same storm. You are on the other side of it, even if the winds have not fully calmed yet. And from here, restoration begins. Your energy will return. Your clarity will deepen. Your direction will become more certain. What felt heavy will begin to lift, slowly but surely. And as it does, you will start to recognize that what you went through was not meant to take from you. It was meant to establish something within you. Something lasting. Something steady. Something that will carry you forward with a strength you didn't have before. So now, release the tension. Release the fear that it might all happen again in the same way. Release the weight of what you just experienced. You are not stepping back into that same moment. You are stepping forward from it. And that makes all the difference. There's nothing more you need to prove right now. No pressure to force anything, no need to rush into what comes next. Just allow yourself to stand in this moment of completion, knowing that you did not quit when it mattered most. And because you didn't, everything has shifted. Now receive this fully. If this message has spoken to your spirit, if you recognize that this week was real for you, and you know deep inside that you made it through something significant, then declare it. Type "I stayed" in the comments as a confirmation of your strength. Blessing code 2026 is now released over your path. And as this message settles into your heart, hear this call clearly. This moment is not just about you. It is about every soul standing on the edge right now, every person who is one step away from quitting but is waiting for a sign to hold on. This is where you step into purpose. I feel led to say this. When you sow into this message, you are not giving to a channel. You are planting into a field where broken spirits are being restored. Like a river that never runs dry, your seed becomes living water for someone who is desperate for hope. God is saying to you, as you pour out, I will pour into you, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Right now, say within yourself, I am part of this mission. I will help this message reach the one who needs it. This is your moment of alignment. Do not delay it. Give through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and the QR code placed in this video. Let your seed move with intention, because obedience in this moment carries power. And as you give, receive this blessing. What you release in faith will return to you multiplied, opening doors, restoring peace, and establishing favor in ways you cannot yet imagine. So act now. Step into it. And know that just as you stayed, what is meant for you is now staying with you.